the walls of this house hide dark secrets. In the middle of the night inside the old mansion, Alice steps into a surreal nightmare. Voices whispering in the shadows, footsteps moving through the corridors, and those red eyes glowing in the dark. When did she realize it was real? And do you dare to get lost in this house? Stay tuned to discover the terrible end that awaits the inhabitants of the house in this suspense-filled story. If you dare, turn off your lamps and dive deeper into the mystery. This may not be just a story. At midnight, silence enveloped the house. In the hallway of an old mansion full of broken glass, pale light danced only under a half-turned lamp. Alice was a woman who had lived in this house for years, but lately, strange occurrences had increased. She felt a presence watching her in the dark, breathing down her neck. One night, Alice went tiredly to her bedroom. When she opened the door, a shadow greeted her. She froze for a moment, then recoiled with a scream. The shadows enveloped the walls, and a dark presence approached her, looming in the center of the room. Alice's eyes glowed like two red lights burning in the void. A voice whispered in the darkness.
"I'll make a deal with you."
Alice woke up sweating. The silence of the room was suffocating her, but her nightmare was real. In every corner of the house, dark shadows were watching her. After a while, Alice stepped out of her room and moved silently along the corridor. The light from the lamp cast strange shapes on the walls. Suddenly, a door opened slightly and a dark hand reached out. Alice closed her eyes and screamed, but to her horror, it closed the door. As the night wore on, strange noises began to be heard in the house. Footsteps, whispers, even a strange laugh. Alice was sure that this dark presence was lurking deep inside the house. But what could she do? The next night, Alice went down to the basement of the house. She found an old, rusty knife and picked it up. She stood in a dark corner, holding her breath, waiting. After a while, her eyes got used to staring into space. But there was nothing. He took a deep breath and turned, but he realized something. The shadows of the house seemed to be flowing towards him. He stepped back, but in reality he had no chance to retreat. The shadows swallowed him. The next morning, the police couldn't find a trace inside the house. There was no evidence that Alice had ever lived in the house. The house's mysterious past and strange events were still the talk of the town. No one ever found out the truth, but those who lived in the house had to be careful. Because the shadows in the house, like a still hungry monster, were looking for a new victim. Curse of the Manor. In the silence of midnight, the rusty doors of Ravenswood Manor invite a group of brave young men into its dark corridors, filled with ancient secrets. For years, the mansion has been haunted by gloomy shadows and whispering spirits, and on Halloween night, it is ready to teach them a lesson they will never forget. As the manor comes alive to tell its own story, an old diary the teens find whispers that the curse is only the beginning. By the end of the night, those lost within the walls of Ravenswood will become the mansion's newest residents. Are you ready? Because some doors open to face the horrors behind them, and once you enter, there is no turning back. A dark cloud cast a shadow over Ravenswood Manor. This centuries-old mansion has long held the town's greatest secret. According to legend, the mansion once belonged to the Ravenswood family. But one night, tragedy struck. The family was never seen again, but their spirits live on in the mansion. On Halloween night, a group of curious teenagers decide to solve the secret of the mansion. At midnight, they step through the mansion's rusty iron gate. The door creaks shut behind them and locks, never to be opened again. Inside, time seems to stand still. Dust-covered furniture looks as if no one has touched it for years. As the group explores the mansion, history confronts them at every step. However, there is one room whose door is always closed. According to legends, this room is at the center of the family's tragedy. They gather their courage and open the door. A dark, cold room. In the center stands a seance table that has been used years ago. Around the table are old chairs, as if seated for a ritual. One of the friends notices an old diary on the table. It was written by the last member of the Ravenswood family. As they turn the pages, they discover that the family has a dark secret. The mansion was originally a place of ancient ritual, and the Ravenswood family tried to communicate with the dark forces. But something went wrong, and the family was cursed by the entity they had summoned. As this secret is revealed, the room suddenly becomes cold, and a wind begins to blow against the doors and windows. The young people feel that they are not alone in the mansion. A shadowy presence begins to hover in the corners of the room. Whispers rise from every corner, but the words are unintelligible. Suddenly, the diary starts turning pages on its own, and on the page where it stops, there is a description of a ritual. Without realizing it, the young people have revived the curse of the manor. The manor opens the door between the world of the living and the world of the dead. There is no escape now. The mansion draws them in. From the outside, Ravenswood Manor still looks abandoned and silent, but inside, the young people are trapped in its endless corridors, along with the spirits of the past. The manor welcomes its new inhabitants, perpetuating the curse. Mysterious House of Jins. I invite you to just scratch the surface of this breathtaking story. It's time to watch and explore more, to discover the secrets behind David and Lisa's suspense-filled moments in an abandoned mansion in Turkey. Get ready for a journey full of surprises and dangers awaiting the demon-possessed couple as they get lost in dark corridors and mysterious rooms. David and Lisa were a couple with a passion for adventure. One day, they saw an advertisement online for an overnight stay in an abandoned mansion in a forest in Turkey. The ad said that the mansion was old and mysterious, haunted by goblins, and wanted brave people to come. David and Lisa didn't want to miss this opportunity. They immediately applied to the ad. They were accepted. They came to Turkey by plane. From there, they took a taxi to the forest. The taxi driver dropped them off in front of the mansion. "What are you doing here?" he asked. "We want to stay here," they said. The driver was surprised. "Are you crazy? This is a cursed place. Jins live here. They will kill you." David and Lisa laughed. "We don't believe in Jins. We are just looking for adventure." The driver nodded. "Well, it's up to you, but I warned you, you may never get out of here again." Then he drove away. David and Lisa entered the mansion. Inside the mansion, it was dusty and dark. There were old furniture, paintings, sculptures, carpets. David and Lisa looked around curiously. After a while, they found a room. There was a big bed, a fireplace, a closet, a mirror. David and Lisa decided to stay here. They left their belongings. Then they continued to explore the mansion. A few hours later, it was evening. David and Lisa went back to their room. They lit the fireplace. They got into bed. They hugged each other. "This is very exciting, isn't it?" said Lisa. "Yes, very. This is a wonderful place. There are no genies. It's just us," said David. Lisa smiled. She said, "I love you." David said, "I love you too." Then they kissed. In the middle of the night, awakened by the sound of rain, David got out of bed to go to the bathroom. Lisa was asleep. David opened the door to the room. He went out into the hallway. The hallway was dark and quiet. David looked for the restroom. After a while, he found a door. He opened it. He went into the toilet. The toilet was dirty and smelly. David did his business. Then he went to the sink. He washed his hands. He looked in the mirror. but he couldn't see himself in the mirror. There was a bearded man in a black suit. The man looked at David and asked, "Have you come to see the demons too?" David, surprised, replied, "What?" The man said, "Yes, goblins. This mansion is a place where goblins live. Every night I call them. Sometimes they come and talk to me, sometimes they hurt me, but I am not afraid of them. I want to be friends with them." David thought the man was crazy. He told him to go away. The man laughed and said, Okay, but you be careful too. Jins don't like strangers. Maybe they will choose you." David, frightened, came out of the bathroom. He ran to his room, but he couldn't find it. The corridor had changed. The doors, the walls, the paintings, all different. David realized he was lost. Desperately, he looked around. Suddenly, at the end of the corridor, he saw a light. Curious, he approached. He realized that the light was coming from a torch. Next to the torch stood a bearded man in a black suit. When the man saw David, he said, "See, the genies have come, and they have chosen you." Then, on either side of the corridor, creatures appeared, human-shaped, but with colored eyes, long teeth, hairy arms, and tails. They were Jins, and they were standing next to the man who had called them. The Jins attacked David. Lisa woke up hearing David's voice. David was gone. Lisa was worried. She got out of bed to look for David. She opened the door to her room. She went out into the hallway. The hallway was dark and quiet. Lisa called out for David, but there was no answer. Lisa followed the corridor. After a while, she found a door. On the door, it said, "Toilet." Lisa thought David might be here. She opened the door. She went into the restroom. The toilet was dirty and smelly. Lisa looked for David, but David wasn't there. When he looked in the bathroom mirror, he saw the same man David had seen. The same events, the same sentences. The man was talking about Jins. Lisa ran away in fear. The Jins attacked Lisa. Lisa tried to defend herself with a knife. But the Jins were very strong and fast. Lisa was wounded. She was covered in blood. The Jins tore her apart. Then they found David's body. They tore him apart, too. In the morning, the silence of the forest was broken by a police siren. Someone had seen the bearded man in black lying in a pool of blood in front of the mansion. The man had committed suicide in a fit of madness after killing David and Lisa. The police entered the mansion, but they didn't find David and Lisa's bodies. There was only a bloody knife on the floor. The police couldn't solve the case, but the owner of the mansion knew everything. He was the one who placed the ad. He made a deal with the goblins. He was offering sacrifices to the Jins, and he wanted wealth and power from the Jins. But the Jinn betrayed him. They killed him too, because the Jinn did not trust anyone. The Jinn only loved themselves.